Hello, 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 my Poltergests! It is I, your ghostess with the mostest, Amity Nemurou! Yoroshiku, yoroshiku! Hello, Shade. Hello, Louise. I hope you are all doing very well today. I am all ready and as you can see, arted up. I got my glasses, my chair, and I've got my fancy little art beret, as all artists do. Oh, I'm so excited for today. Now that we've figured out a lot of the scuff. Oh, jeez. It was 2 days ago that we had so much scuff. It was the craziest, wasn't it? But I'm glad to say, so far anyway, all the tech's been working out today. Thank goodness. I had a little bit of a scare about 10 minutes before where I realized my microphone was not working. And I was like, oh no, what happened? I stepped on the cord and it got unplugged, so I was like scrambling like, oh no, what happened? It was just unplugged. Eeyore. Nothing to worry about. We got it all fixed up and we are ready to go, even though I do need to adjust it, I think. Well, how's everyone feeling? I'm so excited to do some arting and some teaching. I will do my absolute freaking best. Woo! I'm glad you're feeling good. Heck yes. Have you got your water? You got your snacks, you got your art supplies ready. I'm doing so good. I was doing a lot of the prep work for this last night. Oh my gosh, I've been so excited. Feeling a bit blah, but that's how it be. That's fair. Can't be 100% all the time. But it's those moments where you're not feeling too great that make the moments where you feel great even better. Give today your absolute best. Yay! I'm glad you're here. I've got my anatomy book on the side here. It's a big one. That's a big boy. He's big. I don't have a whole lot of desk space. As you can see right here, it's a little small. I got everything on my lap. Not a lot of room there either. I'm a very small. So basically, heck yeah, Scrap Squad raid. Hello everybody, hello, Hyper Red. Nice to see you. We love a raid. That's right, I could hear some of the shrieking. Hi Grim, hello Red, hello. I could hear some of the shrieking through the pipes. I take it things went well. Was it fun? You guys have fun? Oh, I wish I could have popped in. Hello, Brian Johnson. Hi. Welcome. So the hell happened from the other room? so glad you guys are here. I was just about to kind of go into what to expect from today. So basically today, we're gonna be doing an art tutorial. I got a bunch of submissions from you guys on my Twitter. I've made a list so we can kind of go through them and kind of break down not only some of the things you guys sent, but I think some things that'll help with the submissions you guys sent. The idea is that a lot of these are, I'm hoping things that you can use in any medium. I'm mostly going to focus on people, drawing people, because that's kind of what I do best. But I will be going a little bit over page composition and whatnot. I'll be using an example for that. And I'm really excited! Of course, I'll be going over a little bit of coloring and shading to the best of my abilities. You apologize greatly. You're not sorry. See, I'm gonna have to go watch the VOD back. Oh, Sianna, my poor Wolfie. Oh, she's gonna need all the head pats for that one. All right, everyone. Since we want to feel smart today, we got our glasses on. Everyone got your glasses. Everybody got your water. Everyone got your textbooks and your art supplies are ready to go. Yeah, I'm real excited. So, shall we hop in? Shall we move to the art room? You ready? I'm ready. You ready? I'm ready. All right. Let's head over to the art room. Oh, hold on. I forgot to do a thing. Oh, I might be doubling up. There we go. There we are. Alrighty, and let's make sure that everything today. Heck yes! Let's go. Try to stay as long as you can. Oh yeah, no worries. Stay for as long as you can. If you can't make it the whole thing, obviously, you guys know I'm always happy if you can even make it for a few seconds. So today I'm not gonna be, as you can see, I'm not using my art pen here. You can't see my hand there. I want to make things very, very clear, and I don't want my hand blocking things, so I've made my hand invisible, so you can't see it. Yeah, this is what we'll be working from. So first, we're going to be starting off with line art. That's going to be the broad thing that we're going to be focusing on first. We're using this canvas to break down. The first thing we're going to be going over is posing and figures. This was mostly requested by Vernadera and Draconicior. But we've also got some extra things in here by Shardiums and the Reg. We got lots. Ghost Slim's awesome, right? I'm learning a little bit of invisibility tricks from Caecus. He's teaching me a few things. Invisibility potion? What? Where did Sianna get that? I didn't know she had that. Did she steal from the lab? Wow. Oh, quick water break. I was having hot chocolate this morning and I got a little too excited and I burnt my tongue, so I'm gonna be taking a lot more water breaks than usual, I think, today. So, before we go over posing and whatnot, we want to kind of learn how to segment out the body, how to do the proportions. Romeo doesn't need to know. Amazing. Your secret's safe with me. Shush, 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 shush. So we're going to start with a simple stand. I'm going to go over the head. We're going to segment out the body in its full majesty. And then we are... Oh no, he already knows. Then we're going to go into the face and how I segment out the face. We'll be working at a 45-degree angle, I think. And then we're going to look at hands and feet. Mostly hands, because I'm pretty bad at drawing feet. But also, take a lot of these art tips with a grain of salt, as these are just how I do things. I wouldn't say these are necessarily professional tips. So when I start with the body, I always personally start with the head. I usually start with a simple oval, if we want to go from the bases here. They're very big bases. And then I will draw usually a triangle for the upper body. So this is going to be like where this is your neck, your collarbone, and your shoulders. I'll put like little points here. A nice triangle that just kind of papers out here. I'll draw then a little line between the two for the neck. here, about just over halfway down the triangle, I'll draw another line here, because these are where the pecs are. That's where your pecs are. And keep in mind, we're gonna probably be changing a lot of these things as we go. So like, you might actually want your neck to be a little longer, for instance. Since where your arms are and where your neck is are gonna be kind of different. We'll get into that in just a moment. So just gonna be simple stuff. I like to draw a square here, a nice rectangle. And then I'll draw another triangle here, kind of like an hourglass there to meet the corners. And then I'll fill out the rest of that triangle. Usually to about the same, but honestly, you can kind of get a little creative with this. I will do to about the same if I'm drawing a more feminine body, but if I'm going a little more masculine, then I'll actually probably make, here, I'll show you through transforming. They free transform so fast. I will actually make it a little longer, but taper it in a little bit more like so. So then your shoulders are a little bit wider than your waist. That sort of depends on like what kind of vibe you're going for the body. So then about here then, I'll go a little bit under here. I'm gonna have to adjust because I didn't account for the entire canvas here. I never do. So I'll draw another line here and then another triangle here. There's a lot of interlacing triangles I tend to do. This is if I'm getting like really serious and I really want to like take my time with it. And then what I'll often do is I'll just draw a circle here and a circle here. So that's kind of like our base shape here. And then I will draw a line around here, sort of taper in that waist. This is not going to be even close to our final shape. This is just kind of giving us an idea of what we're working with. And then from the center of these circles, that's about where your pelvis is going to be. So you got your little leg bones in there. As I understand, most people have their little leg bones. And I will draw two lines, two very, very long lines. Because we're just doing a normal standing pose here. Now let me just quickly bring something up. There's a method that a lot of people do use that I'm gonna go over real quick. It's the head method. I call it that. I don't know what it's actually called. So basically, if you can actually use the head to give you a good idea of what to do for proportions. So you do one head here, and then your shoulders should be about 2 head lengths if they are on their side. So that's about what we want there for that sizing. The body tends to be 1, 2, 3 from the base of the chin all the way down to the body, to the bottom of the body there. So here, I'll put that as blue so then we can see what's going on a little better. And then from here, it's about 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, down from the top of the leg, so like just under where the crotch meets the legs. So that brings you down all the way to the foot, right to the base of the foot. As for arms, that is actually a very similar situation, where it is, in fact, from here, from the shoulder point, 1, 2, 3, 4-ish, sort of. It's more like, kind of like 3.5. So it's kind of more like about halfway down the thigh at the most. That's like to the fingertips. These are your fingertips. There's your hand. You see what I'm doing here? You're using the height of the head for the proportions. This is a pretty classic trick. I do a lot of my proportions off-site, but I think it's important to know the basics for these sorts of things. So now we're gonna make these a little smaller. There we go. 3.5 looks about right. It also kind of depends on your style as well, and also the person. Because I was walking around today and I noticed some people only have their arms down to like their hips. That includes their fingers. So some people just have shorter arms and shorter legs. But this is like your base you're kind of working from. So now that we've kind of figured that out, this is where the base of our foot is. I'm gonna put a little triangle there because that's our ankle to our heel. This is our ankle to our heel. So I'm gonna just kind of put that there as our little reference for the rest of the foot because that's the front of the foot, but our heel is back here. And the knee, so the fun fact about your calves versus your knees, generally your calf is a lot longer. Well, not a lot, but like it's a decent amount longer than the thigh is bigger than the calf. The thigh is bigger than the calf. But your calf also will include your heel if you're folding it perfectly in half. So your thigh will be about the same measurement as your calf plus your heel. So you put your knee, I usually draw a little circle for the knee. Boop, 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 boop. And your elbows are usually about the top of your pelvis. So if I don't know where the pelvis is, I'll draw a little heart here. So about here is where your elbow wants to be. Right there. You see it? There we are. Is my music too loud, by the way? I can't hear it. I should turn it on so I can hear it. Sorry, hold on. It might help me with my concentration. Blah, 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 blah. Alright. Alright, fair enough. I guess it won't let me hear it. Alright, here, let's try that again. Little bit of scuff. Alright, so yeah, I like to do little hearts. Hearts are actually pretty useful, I find, in art. Because that tells us that's where the leg goes. That's about where the pelvis ends, and there's the tummy from there. But now we kind of know what our arm's looking like. So we'll make a little dot here. And there we go. Here, where's there we are. I'm gonna lock this guy so I know where he is. Alright. And then our arm is about here. Oh wait, I need that still. I will usually just draw triangles for things like hands and feet to start. Oh wait, actually I should probably make that a square. After all, that includes the hands, the fingers. So I'll do something like that. The wrist is actually a little higher up than that. But as you can see now, we've got ourselves a few more proportions to work with. So I'm gonna just quickly flip these bad boys, because we're gonna be doing the exact same thing on the other side. Might as well cut ourselves some time here. All right, you kind of see what I'm putting down? Picking up what I'm putting down here? And I'll just make that a different color for you guys. Oops, nope, I didn't want that to happen. Uh-oh. There we go. Alright. So this is our base proportion. Now from here, we can kind of start adding more of the details to give it a body. So, from this point on, I usually start with the collarbone. The collarbone will be about here. It's usually got a dip here. Just because your finished product might not have your collarbone showing, doesn't mean you shouldn't add it. And then I will draw the neck from the base here. And I'll draw all the way down to the collarbone. But then you want to add these here. See, because your neck and your collarbone kind of have some muscle there. What are these? I think these are I want to say the trapezius muscles. Oh, geez. I didn't take a muscle test. But these little guys are going to be helpful to you. I also like to draw the tendons here that meet at the collarbone. So, it's a little circle there. Got little circles there. I may have made the neck a little long. Easy fix. This is easier to fix in digital art, of course, but just move that down just a teeny bit. So here we go. Bada bing, bada boom. We've got ourselves a nice little neck muscle. And then about here in this line. So a lot of art I see that's kind of still in the beginning puts the booba and the pecs meeting the collarbone like this. But actually, there's a little bit of room between the two. And the top of your pecs actually lines up with your armpits. So this is where our armpits are, which means that's where our pecs are gonna start. And we can draw them all the way down to here. We're gonna make this a masculine body, so I cannot be demonetized on YouTube. I say demonetized as if I'm monetized. I'm not. I just don't want to be struck. I don't want to be taken down. But yeah, you can. So it's kind of like they're more like circles like this, of course. But you end up kind of squaring them out a little bit. Some people draw them as squares first and circles after. I draw them as circles first, squares after. That's kind of what I do. And the top half of the body, I'm gonna draw kind of half circle like this from these 2 points. We'll adjust as we go. Until they meet about here. I'm actually gonna taper them out now because I've gotten my main shape. So I'm gonna kinda get rid of a little bit of stuff. And then I will draw, this is the waist we've got going on here. The place we've stopped here is where the rib cage ends. Because about in where your rib cage ends, that's where the rest of your pecs are gonna kind of come in. That's where the rest of your waist is in. Because your rib cage is more your chest area. It sort of it does go down. Yeah, I'm feeling it. Yeah, it does go down into your waist. Ooh. But for these purposes, they only go down about this. If you get a little confused, I always find it helps to actually draw the rib cage. Because that'll help you also with muscle placement. So I'll just kind of finish this here. So we got ourselves a little bit of the rib cage in there. That actually helps me round out where the abs tend to be. And those kind of go all the way down here. So those go all the way down your body. We'll put a line through them so we know where the belly button's gonna be. I'll draw a little bit of a square here. And then here I will draw kind of like a rhombus. See, not a rhombus. A hexagon. It's like a hexagon. I'll draw it down to the middle point here. And I'll usually draw another one here so that I kind of know where the undies are supposed to be. So this is our mid-waist here. And this is just the area right above, like where our so this is where our pelvis bones usually go up to. If you have sharp pelvises. I know some people have heart-shaped pelvises. I have a sharp one, apparently. Or I had one when I had bones. So and knowing that is gonna help us give a little bit of extra shape to this body later. But right now, this is the simple stuff we need to learn. And these circles we've drawn here help us know where our hips start. These are the hips. So far, this is what we got for the top body. Now you've noticed, hey, Amity, those are really small little shoulders you got there. Nah. That's just the axis point. I will draw then a circle about this big. Well, it depends, of course. That kind of leads in there, and we'll connect these two parts right here. You want your pecs and your elbows to your shoulders to connect kind of like this. If you look in the mirror and you lift up your arm, you'll see that there's a line that goes from your pec up into your armpit. So that's kind of what we've got going on here. I will then draw the circles, and I like to point them downwards a little and make them into little beaks, because that's where the muscle starts to change more into your forearm. Then we can draw a square or a rectangle, not a square. And when I get to the point of the elbows, I will usually draw another circle, because that helps me with the joints a little bit there. Helps me remember that that's where the joints are. We got a little bit of push inside our elbows there. I hope my words make any sense. All right. Now, connecting the hands to the arm, that's going to be an interesting little... Didn't get through the first tutorial. Hey, no worries. I'm going slow, and I will actually be coming back to this for a different part later, we're gonna be doing a little bit of thinking in 3D, and I will teach you how to use 3D models a little bit later. But I feel like understanding this will help you maximize your ability to use a 3D model. And then you're gonna probably be coming back and seeing that some things don't look quite right. Like this doesn't look right. It's a little too high up, so I'm actually gonna move it down just a little bit. And see? You're not gonna get everything right the first time, and that's okay. I like to also erase as I go, because then that helps me remember what's what. So like I'll smooth things out. So the transition point now between the collarbone and the shoulders is a lot cleaner. And then I'll probably do this, so then we can see a lot clearer right there. Boop. And now I don't need these, so I'll erase those. So these all kind of blend in together. They're all one big thing. You can see Casey's vase. Oh no! We can't dox Casey, oh no. Anyway, I was talking about the arms. Oh geez. Alright, so when you're connecting the hand to the arm, if you actually kind of hold your hand out, your hand sort of almost splays out more like this. But it does favor the side without the thumb a little more than the side with, so you pinky side a little bit more. That's at least how I tend to interpret it. So you can draw your little arm there. And then from this center point to about, I'd say just over halfway down, this is where you want to add a little tiny curve for your forearm. That might be too much, but just a small curve gives you a little bit of force. Catch you later, Grim. Thank you for coming. Boop, 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 boop. There we go. So there is our hand. I'm gonna go into the hands in a little bit more depth in just a moment. So that's our placeholder hand for now. So that's how you do the arm. Sometimes what also helps me is I will continue to draw the line just a little bit upward, and I'll kind of do the same thing on the other side, because there is a tendon that runs just up this arm here. That's how you get that weird little fold there in your arm, in your elbows. So I find that helps me. All right, let's focus on legs. Legs have this one really cool thing that I really like, because it makes drawing them very easy. It is something I call the straight curve, curve straight. So once you've set your knee point and your starting point, this is our starting point. This one definitely works best for side legs, so I'm actually going to adjust this foot here so it is pointed to the side. Oh, hold on. Pointed to the side a little bit more. So then we can actually take advantage of this. There we go. So the straight curve, curve straight is if your foot is facing this way, you want straight, curve, then straight, curve. That gives you a good leg shape. Oh, I definitely put the knee a little too low here. Easy fix. We're gonna put the knee point actually more up here. Straight, curve, straight, curve. Ta-da! And that's how you get a little bit more of a shapely leg. I hope this makes somewhat sense, everyone, so far. Do we have any questions or things that I should re-explain so far, or how's everyone feeling? Ooh, good chance for some water. Oh, glad. I'm glad. And then, of course, from there, when you're drawing the foot and the heel don't perfectly align with what came up before it. So it's actually a bit of an angle. So I usually draw just a slight angle, and then I will do a very, very, very deep angle. Feel like we'll be watching the VOD over some points. Oh, I'm glad. So there we go. We've got ourselves this very simple foot. And it's kind of on an angle. So I will draw a line that to suggest the angles. Alright, so this is kind of what we've got for our main body here. Once you've gone over one arm, you've kind of gone over the other. I feel like understanding these proportions and kind of how they might interact with each other gives you some good axis points to work with. Because then from there, you can kind of. I like to mess with these models a little bit when I make them, and kind of play around to kind of see how they might bend. So I'll grab like the knee and transform it, and I'll pop my little axis point right about here. Right about here. And then I will transform it like so. And I'll just do that with the body at all points. Just to kind of see how they might actually move. So an elbow's axis point would actually probably be about here. So it'd be about right here if you can see where that is. You can kind of pull that. And then you can move it up a little bit because the arm will actually do some pulling there. Like so. You can then adjust your collarbone because your collarbone does move up with it. Like so. So I really like to play with these once I've figured it out. Oh, thank you, Kurai-san Zai! Welcome, welcome! We've just gone over kind of segmenting out bodies and looking at the axes points. We can actually do a little bit more in-depth on these axes points. Here, I'll play with this guy just a little bit. Boop. No! There we are. So I'm gonna select that entire leg because this guy is gonna move if this guy moves, basically. Alright. So this axis point is right here on the circle. So we can move him like so. Oh wait, no, it wouldn't be. I guess this one would actually be more like right here, right on the corner. Do you see where that axis point is? Right there. No, hold on. Legs are tricky. Legs are very tricky in that regard. Oh no, I guess the axis point would actually be right here. So you guys, I'm learning just as much. So your leg actually moves more like right here. So I'm gonna reselect. There's our axis point. Ta-da! So it's kind of more like that. I hope that makes some sense. Here, let's save our progress. Well, hey, hopefully I can teach you a little bit. The first step of art, instant forgiveness. If you think you've messed up, no you haven't. You've just trying something new. Experimentation is all part of the process after all. And I'm not a professional. I don't know why you guys are asking me to draw for lessons. I appreciate it though. Oh yeah, what's this thing I have here? Oh, that's the old parts. That's the segmenting. I'll leave that up. There we go. Just so we can reference that later if we need to. Next up, I'm gonna go over the face. The face is kind of where I excel more than the body, I will say. So I'm gonna draw a face on a 45-degree angle or so, or like a side profile, not a side profile, but like a three-quarter profile. I don't know what it's called. I've forgotten all my art terminology. So this is how I segment out faces. So I usually, when I'm actually really drawing a face, I'll start with a circle. And then depending on the angle, if I want them to be facing kind of like, if this is our top down and this is our camera, I want them to be facing that way. Which is the kind of face I draw the most. So I will start about here, and I'll just draw a line in that general direction. if that makes any sense. So this is about my hairline, I'm thinking, and this is about where I want my chin to be. I always go over this circle because the circle's only the bulb part of your head where the brain goes. That's the brain right there. Then I'll go over about halfway down the circle here, and I'll connect these two lines for the basic shape in a nice curve. And I'll do the same thing on the other side about that. No, I won't. That's a lie. Because you have to consider your ears. So let's actually back up a little bit. So about here, I'll draw the line for where I think the eyes will be going. And where your eyes are about where your ears are going to go. And if you're 3/4 turn, your ears are going to be a little bit more forward. They're not going to be back here. They're going to be more like here. So I'll draw a little circle for the ear, and then I'll connect that to right here. I'll make it meet with the front of the ear here. So that's my basic shape I'm working from here. And then of course, right at the halfway point here under the ear, that's where I will usually start putting the neck. And then about here, because your neck isn't moving. If you look at my head here, you can see that my neck is not lining up with the base of my chin. If you look in the mirror when you turn your head, you'll notice that. So I've drawn a little bit more of a neck. I like to also draw the tendons of the neck here because we're on an angle. It helps me remember that the rest of the body is also on an angle. So I'll just draw a little base of the neck and a triangle here. So this is our basic shape. Now we're gonna kind of get a little bit more, we're gonna get a bit more into the details of the face. And how things tend to line up. I will usually start with the nose, or the bridge of the nose. So what I'll do is I'll find where where the eyebrows are gonna be going. Eyebrows will go just a little bit above the head. And I'll start there. And I'll sort of meet here. Because we've got the bridge of our nose to worry about. And then I will finish the curve up down to this point. This is about where I want my nose to end. Right there. Your eyes are gonna be dead smack in the middle of them. Like so. Well, not dead smack. Closer to your eyebrows than to the rest, to the base of your nose. Or the tip of your nose. So basically, you have to this is where you kind of start thinking a little bit more in 3D. So the tip of your nose is basically 2 cylinders. Kind of like this. So your nose, the good way to think of it, I suppose, in a 3D shape. So if this is, how would I explain this? ちょっと待って. It's like I always know what I'm gonna say, and then I go to say it, I'm like, wait a second. Here, I'll do it with color. So here is the base of your nose where you're gonna find your nostrils. Up here is the bridge of your nose, or kind of like your temple area. It's where your brow will furrow. It's where the bridge of your nose ends. And then this part here, the entire part is the bridge of your nose. So that's kind of the way to think about it, I suppose. In the front, it's gonna look kind of like this. And if you turn up, it's gonna kind of have a circular look for most noses. But you have to think of them like cylinders. They're cylinders, they're cylindrical. Like so. Alright. So this for me sets a very strong foundation of where I want everything to be. I will then draw an eyebrow to kind of... it's not the final eyebrow, but it gives me an idea of what we're working with. So I draw the far one first, and as far as it goes, that's going to be an important detail. So keep this guy in mind. And then of course I'll draw the other eyebrow just a little further away. I give him a little bit of space here. We've got ourselves 2 eyebrows. Before I draw the eyes, I like to get the face shape down. Same with the mouth. So, okay, we've got ourselves a forehead here. We're gonna stop. We're not gonna do this part the same way. We're not gonna continue on. We wanna get some 3-dimensionality. So we know where our eye is. Now, if you look in the mirror, you'll see that the corner of your eye actually meets with the top of where your chin, or not your chin, your cheek starts. So we're gonna inch it in just a little bit. Rather than having it right here, we want it right here. Not here, right here. And we're going to bring it in like this. And then we're going to curve it all the way down to the chin. So this is the base shape that we're working from. From here, you can kind of sculpt it. Around here is usually where the cheekbones end. So that's where you might get more of a curve for the rest of the face that goes the opposite direction, where you kind of fall into the chin a little. So curve to about here, and then you can go straight. That's your cheek. Cheekbone. Then of course we got our little chin down here. He's a little circle. There he is. Say hello. Now, it depends on the face shape, but I usually... You go so in depth, I'll have to save this for later. Thank you. I figured if I'm gonna go over them, I might as well give entry and advance at least a little something to chew on. When I do chins, I like to choose so you can see here we have a curve here, a nice easy curve. If you draw a box around it, it's like a perfect in and out interpolation curve. I like to find the point where it is at the centermost, erase that part, and then just draw a straight line. And then I curve back in. It gives the jaw a little bit more definition, I find. There we go. Make me want to try drawing something. Do it! Doodle something! Absolutely! Yay, I'm glad! Oh, it makes me so happy! Next up, I will draw the rest of the ear. So usually, yeah, it's about eyebrow level, or just under. About here is where I like to connect the head with the ears. I will not draw a circle. I'll do like a half circle and then pop in and just do a little earlobe here. Unless this character doesn't have earlobes that dangle. They don't wobble to and fro. I've seen some people draw a loop here that traces all the way back up here. It's a little doodly. Here's the thing about ears, they're hard to draw. Most people do a little spiral for good reason. So that's about all we'll do for this ear. You can draw the little line in there if you know what's going on. I think it's, oh, what is it, the conch? No, the conch is this part. That's your conch. So now we got an ear. Ta-da! Now let's get into eyes. So the center of your eye is gonna be this line. So you can draw like a little almond. Boop. At the very least, these are the corners of your eye. So your eye shape will depend on how much top and how much bottom we want to give it. I like to give my eyes a lot of top and a little bit of bottom. Like so. I like to put this little fold here. And you can kind of sculpt them as you see fit. Sometimes you have a little eyelid about there. And we draw ourselves a little iris. A little pupil. Because it looks freaky, I'm gonna give it some detail right off the bat. But yeah, right here is where you got your little tear ducts. So. So you got one eye. Now what about this one? This one's gonna be a little silly because we gotta focus on this. This guy has 3D elements to him. So we have, instead of having it about this distance away, we're gonna shorten the length. So we're gonna put them about here, and we want the corner to meet about here. Well, this is on a different layer. It's not gonna reach the end, just about there. A lot of bottom, a little top for me. Oh, okay, makes sense. Ooh, what would that look like? I do like that look. What would that look like? Very nice! Cause you're always tired? It is a sleepy eye. Look at that. The sleepiest of eyes. Aw, I'm so sleepy. It's you. I'm so tired. We're gonna keep these ones. So we can actually even shrink. So now it's not gonna be the same length either. As you can see, this one's that length. I can't measure. We're gonna shrink it now just a little bit, as we have a bit more perspective to work with. There we are. Boop. And it should be about the same height there. Ta-da! 2 eyes. On perspective. Ta-da! Oh yeah, and if you're ever worried about like how to do eyebrows, like, whoa, what if I need to raise the eyebrows? I'm gonna show you something real cool. So if you really look at your own eyebrows when you're making expressions, you'll notice that they're kind of more in 2 pieces than they are anything else. So your eyebrows are more like this. And these little points generally are gonna be in the same spots. The inner points move a lot more, but these parts actually stay in the same spot. So, here, let me get my pen for this one. I got a morph tool that'll be perfect for it. If I can find it. Here it is, my liquefy tool. So if we want to give a more surprised look, oops, I didn't want that. No, I can't use my morph tool. I wanted to cheat. I can't cheat. So a more surprised look, we can do that. Where we just lift up this part right here. But we keep the corner in the same spot. And if we want the eyebrow to be angrier, we can furrow him down like that. But the eyebrows stay in the same spot. Cool, right? I think it's a useful tool. The mouth is probably the easiest part. So we've got the center of our mouth already placed. This half is going to be a little shorter than the other half. So just a little line. I give more space on this half than I do on this half. And you honestly don't have to do too much of a curve, it really depends. And yeah, you always want to give just a little bit of space between your nose and where your top lip is most likely going to be. But knowing these parts here actually make it really easy now to do a side profile, but I'll get into that in just a second. Because first we're gonna figure out where the hair line is. That little thing we said before, that's our hair, that's our cap. So it kind of depends on how big your forehead is, but you always want a little bit of space there. We're gonna give them just a little of a hairline. So we go about this way up. We can curve it up just a little bit because we're thinking of in a 3D circle here. We're gonna go all the way to the back of the scalp. So we got ourselves a cap here. And then from about this point, I will draw down to here, like so. And then a little square right here, right in front of the ear. because that's kind of where everyone has natural little sideburns for the most part. You can make sideburns that go all the way down if you want. I can't stop you. So this is our head cap. This is our hair cap. I'm gonna color that in so then we can come back to that. Because I want to do a quick side into how this can help you draw a side profile. And then I'm gonna go over here. So the reason this helps me personally, all these segmented parts help me do a side profile. Here, I'll actually even show off where the lips tend to be. Lips tend to be, you know, about that. Then down here, there's a little bit of a gap between that and the rest of the chin, because your chin's actually pretty big for the most part. There's your lips, and you have a little allele right there. You see what I'm doing there? You see what you picking up what I'm putting down? I'm gonna color these so then you can see them a lot clearer in regards to where the mouth is. I'll learn how to talk one of these days. Today is not that day. Here. You understand that? Good, good. So now this can really, knowing where all these bits and bobs are and what the spacing between them is, can help you draw your side profile using that. So for a side profile, I'll usually just draw a line about here to here, here to here. I'll finish off this scalp here. No, I won't. I'm a liar. So I draw my line here. This one is more of a digital tool that I use. I'll move it all the way over to the side of the head so I can get the rest of the cap in. Boop. Get my chin. I'll move it in just a little bit from about here to here to get a feel. No, about here, because that's about where we want our ear to be. So now we have our ear. We know where the base of our head is. Now we can use it as a really good reference. So we're gonna trace this point in. Now about the nose and the base of the head. So I'll trace the nose then. Now actually I'll do the first, hold on. Sorry guys, my brain. Too many. So I'll move it to about actually midway point here. I'll line up this little dip with the base of my nose, and then I can move it outward to meet the rest of the nose. Because the bottom half of your mouth actually protrudes a little bit from your forehead. Not everybody's, but generally, at least for this face type that I'm used to drawing. So I'll draw the nose to the point here, and then I'll just move it forward just a teeny bit. And then I will curve down over the mouth area right here. We'll do a little curve. And then we can kind of protrude out with the chin. It doesn't have to be that unsubtle, I will say. Okay, and then we can kind of trace a little bit there. So this is our side profile so far. Now we can return it. Now we know this is where the mouth goes. Oh, the top lip is here. So the mouth actually might go out just a little bit more. No, it actually won't. So the top lip actually will protrude just a little bit more, about there. And the bottom lip will do the same. Because it's the lip, it's the actual lip part that you see the protrusions on. Like so. And when you have a bit of a side profile, your eyes are actually kind of close to the bridge of your nose. And of course you can shorten them here. It's kind of sunken in like so. Your eyes will kind of there will be an upward curve that matches here. This one I'm not explaining as well, just because I don't use as a lot of techniques in my day-to-day arting. But ooh, yeah, this one didn't work out as well as I thought. Let's you can free transform that one. Not quite as concrete, that one. Okay, I did lie. We are gonna come back to hair because I forgot before we... No, you know what? No, we are gonna do hair right now. I'm not gonna lie anymore. We'll do hair right now, and then we can get into hands and feet afterwards. So I'm gonna put this guy to the side over here. Let's talk a little bit about how to do hair. This one... Let me just... Where's my... Here we are. Hair was requested by Draconis Yore. So, when you're thinking about hair, this scalp you've drawn here, this is only the guide. Your actual hair is probably going to be about this distance away from the head, because hair actually poofs out a decent fair. So first things first is you want to figure out where your part is. If you're doing short hair, you might not have a part to work with. No problem, we'll be using a root system. But if you have longer hair you're drawing, I like to try and find a part system. So you just find a part where your hair will be parted. So if you look at my head, here I'll move my beret for you. You can actually see where my hair is parted. That little crease right there. That's where all of it jumps from. I call it jumping. This is where your hair is gonna jump from. Because when you have a part, the hair will literally, whoop, jump off of it. If that makes any sense. Sorry, I'm so disorganized. So this is how I will start with a hairstyle, especially like a long one. Let's draw the hair. We're gonna put our hair down to about here. So I've given myself my jump off point, my part, my bulbs, and now this is the length I want. I will sometimes draw a circle about here around the same angle, or even just like a line, if you can't really think in 3D just yet. A line where we want the hair to go. So if you're just drawing like straight hair, easy peasy. I think when you're drawing straight hair, it more bubbles out. It's not really straight down, and if it is, I will stylize a little bit and draw a little, oops, whoop, where it kind of comes to a point there. Because if it just kind of goes, if you have hair that just goes like this, just kind of bubbles over the head, it's not very natural looking, you know? But you kind of bubble it out and curve it back in, or you maintain the curve and kind of phase it out into a straight line from there. I will often do something similar though. Oop, hold on. I want to keep that little bump I had, because that was good. Okay, that part will go all the way to about here. About the line, your hairline. Bubble it along the top here. And because we're on a bit of an angle, it might actually kind of come closer to the hair, to the head here, with the perspective. And you can kind of draw it down. We're going to be drawing it down to this point. I'm going to make it a little bit more 3D here so you can see what I'm working with. And I want this hairstyle to be kind of like a bob cut, like almost like a soccer mom cut, but a little longer. So if we're going to be looping it, if we want it off the face, I will often, with the direction the hair is going, if we want the hair to part here, I'll draw jagged lines along the cap going this way, the way that the hair is going to be going, because it's all going over the head like so. And I'll just draw a line, just whoop. It kind of kicks up and over. Kick up over. Kick up, over. And I'll just kind of do that. I'll kick all the hair up and over. Up and over. Up over the head. Like so. It's a comb over! Yeah! I'll do the same down here, except there's a little bit less of a kick up, kick up, kick up. So I actually want her to have her hair brushed down a little bit, or pulled back behind her ear. So I'll do the same thing where the spikes are facing away. And then from those spikes, I'll just draw some ears, some strands going back to the top of the ear here, because they kind of bunch up here. And the hair so the thing about hair is when it's loose, you have a strand of hair and you put it down on a table, it won't go like this. Hair tends to be a little more stiff, like that. It kind of stiffens. You don't get wigglies in a straight hair. If you do have anything, it's usually crimped, in which case it kind of holds its shape. It's a little like pudding, if that makes any sense. It holds its shape, it's malleable, but it holds its shape, like whipped cream or something. That's a really bad example. I guess it's more like wire. Like a nice thin wire. If you try and coil wire, stiff hair gel every... Yeah, hair is a lot more stiff than like a rope. It's more like a wire or something like that. So there you go. So oftentimes if you have it combed over something, it's gonna bend back the way it was. It curves. So hair behind the ear will often curve back in like so. And we want to bring these points down to meet this big circle we've made down here. Oops, I wanted an eraser. Oh no. I'm going to erase those so we can kind of see what we're working with here. There we go. And the ends of hair, usually they rarely stop in a perfect cut like so. So even if you do have a hairstyle, I find, that is supposed to be like a blunt cut, what I'll do is I'll add a little extra phrase to it, like so. So instead of, you can either go like a lot of lines, or some lines up. So it's almost like you have an EKG going on. You know, like the boop, boop, like a heart monitor. That's actually probably a good way to draw the ends of hair. Now, if you're drawing bangs, that's another dealio. So let's say you've got yourself your hair and you want to give them like that classic anime girl bangs. Oftentimes, I find it's easiest to draw like a circle area or imagine a circle. About here where it bumps up like this. Sort of? No, hold on. How would I explain that? So with a hairstyle like this, when you have these... Oh, here we are. When you're drawing bangs, you want to use this as the origin point. You gotta use your part as your origin point. So boop. They're moving over from over there. So that's one way to draw hair. Another way of drawing hair that I will use for shorter hair, at least this helps with my mindset on it. I don't necessarily, again, I don't use a lot of these techniques as openly as I used to. Oops. But I will, they did help me kind of with the mindset behind art, behind what I need to draw. Oh, I see what I've done here. There we go. Too many layers! Ah! Another way to think about hair, this helps for shorter hair, is a grid system. So you have to think of roots as not growing from a single point, but rather multiple points. Because your hair literally sticks out kind of like this. At all these different points. It's a garden on top of your head. It's a hay field. It's a rice field. It just so happens that it gets so long that it weighs itself down. You see? So when I'm drawing short hair, I'll kind of think of it like that. Here, let's do that. Perfect. So drawing short hair, I will often just start drawing lines poking out from the hair, like so. And the longer the hairs get, the more they weigh themselves down. Like so. Long hair may stick out just, longer hairs might stick out just a little bit. Oops, here, let's try that again. But the longer they get, the more weight they have. Again, give yourself some space away from the scalp. I'll also start to segment things a little bit more. So there's where those hairs go. And your hair actually does technically start a little bit down your neck. So about here. Here we are. So drawing bangs like this that aren't like from a part or like shorter hair, you can just draw the points coming from these grids, these little roots you've planted. There's also, for shorter hair, a bit of a swirl in the back usually, and another origin point of its own. So that's where these hairstyles of hair kind of coming forward like this come from. Oh jeez, this guy's having a bad hair day. I'm not too good at explaining how I do hair. It's mostly just kind of going with the lines. With like longer hair, I'll just draw a lot of wisps, like so. You can kind of experiment with it. I know I like to draw wavy hair quite a lot. With wavy hair, you can kind of get weird with the shapes. So I say find yourself a fun shape to work with and just go nuts. You see? It's kind of silly. It's kind of a silly do. Wouldn't you say? Sorry, that one wasn't quite as in-depth as the segmenting. Hopefully this next part will be a little better because I'm gonna now go into hold up, let's make these a little smaller so then I can actually have a little bit more space to work with. Hands and feet. But first, a quick water break. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's already been an hour. Hands are a little bit more within my comfort zone, weirdly enough, on explaining. But we'll see. We'll let time be the judge there. So when drawing a hand, I'll start off with a square. This is going to be a front-facing hand. I'll draw the wrist a little closer to this side. This is where I want my pinky to be. And this is where I want my thumb to be. Pinky, thumb. Then I will draw a circle here. This is the thumb muscle, as I call it. I don't know the actual names for so many of these things. This is where our thumb's going to be coming from. Speaking of which, this little rectangle that's closer to the edge of this circle than to the center is our thumb. Hello, say hello, Mr. Thumb. That's so silly. Now we can start with finger placement. I will draw a little bit of a half circle here with the arch point actually being more like a third, sorry, 2/3 in. So if you have 1, 2, 3, you want to be on the 2. So we'll curve in and then curve about 3/4. If it's 1, 2, 3, 4, you want to be on 3. So I'll actually mark these down. Now that's actually a 1/5. What am I doing? So that's on 4/5. Nope, that's on 3/4. I can't do math, guys. I can't do math. How long have you been doing this? Like, it's like you took classes. So I've actually been drawing for, oh God, I ran the numbers on this. It was 8% of my living life and all of my afterlife so far. I was very young when I decided to start seriously drawing, and I'm mostly self-taught, but I did take some art classes. So, cause I wanted to learn a little bit more about anatomy. I took one art class at my Daigaku, and then, but before that, I took a class when I was very young, cartooning. The rest I've mostly just kind of watched other tutorials for, and like I have an anatomy book. I'm not a professional artist by any stretch of the word, but this is what I'm kind of trying to explain what I usually just eyeball. I'm an eyeballer. But anyway, thank you. This is our wrist here. I'm just gonna draw him there. There he is. Say hello, Mr. Wrist. Now that we've kind of figured out our segmenting here, I'm gonna draw our fingers! Yay! I draw circles to point out where the fingers are gonna be. So you want them evenly spaced. About this, following this arch. There is a little teeny bit of space between your fingers, actually, if you check it out. Now, to figure out how I want the fingers to splay, I'll draw a circle about here at the wrist point, because that's where the bone is. That's where our bone is. There's a big bone, big bones that lead from your wrist up to your fingers. So that gives us the angle of where our fingers are going to be if they're just relaxed. So I'll draw lines, kind of following the same pattern actually as this arch we had before. So it's a very similar arch. 1, 2, 3, 4. Big bones! They're big bones! We got a lot of bones, actually. Thank you! So that's about what we're looking at. Now, the size of your fingers, or the length of your fingers, will actually depend on a few things. I know that men tend to have... This finger is actually longer than this finger. Everyone's middle finger is the longest. And of course, everyone's pinky is the shortest by quite a bit. So we're actually going to take him down quite a bit, because this archway goes down. We're going to be drawing a female hand, and lady hands, actually this thing is shorter than this. Your sleeper finger is a lot shorter than your pointer finger. So we'll kind of adjust a little bit here. Get ourselves a feel. It'll be your middle finger will be about the same length as your palm. Big bones are important bones too? Yeah, you do need them. Like your legs are big, and well, I guess your spine's technically not big, but your rib cage is a lot of little bones that make one big bone, and your skull is a big bone. You need those big bones. Yeah. We like big bones, and I cannot lie. Oh yeah, and your thumb also, of course, has the big bone that goes from there to there. So yeah, the middle finger is about the same as your palm there. Let's make that a nice other color for you. Now we're gonna segment out the fingers. Each finger has 3 points of bend. Your thumb has them kind of spread out a little bit weird. But now we've drawn our little sausages here. Like so. Whoop. Whoop. And then we draw them up like so. And again, there is space. There is space between your fingers, contrary to popular belief. And we're going to... Now, when you're connecting the hand with your wrist, you can actually kind of dip in a little bit and then dip back out. This part is going to loop back over your circle here and then kind of dip in Because your thumb actually, your thumbnail is facing this way. It's not facing up. Here we are. So we have ourselves a little bit of a hand. If this is your hand facing inward, like we're looking at the palm, I will draw a line from the pinky, kind of curving out down to the bone here, and then I'll do a similar thing over here, curving over the thumb. Those are the appreciate funny jokes, like when a skeleton character says they want to come back from a situation in 206 pieces. That's amazing. Try imagining not having small ones look kind of odd. That will be Amity. Any bones I have left in my body, because corporeal or incorporeal in my case, I bet they are very small because I am small. You can put me in your pocket. Not really, I'm 5 foot, which isn't that small. But yeah, anyway. So these are like the base shapes of your hand. Normally you don't really want to be drawing them, but it's good to know where they are. So then if you need to suggest them with shading, then it's easier to do so. This one is a little bit more obvious, usually. Yeah, then you got your tendons there. Yeah, 5 feet. 5 feet. Here we are. So that's what your hand looks like on the inside. But if we're looking from the outside, let's get rid of that segmenting. Actually, we really need that segmenting. What am I doing? Silly, silly Amity. Oops. Here, let's just put that over there. And I'm gonna move it. I'm gonna move this over here so we still have an idea of what we're doing. No, I need you gone. I need you gone, buddy. I need you gone. There we go. So let's return to this one. You see these little circles I did here? They're not just any circles. They are your knuckles. They're your knuckles. Your knuckles are kind of like, I think there's the instinct to put the knuckles here, but your knuckles are actually just, your finger bones. I used to put only 3 knuckles in between each finger, so it was like really bad. Need to get ghost high heels. Who needs high heels when you can fly? I do have heels on my shoes though. Yeah, your knuckles, they kind of come up like this underneath your body, your fingers. So when you draw them on an angle, oops. See, when you draw them a bit on an angle, there is a little bit of a bump there. And as you get older, you can actually see your knuckles much easier. They follow these down to your bones. And then about here is where your nails are usually. Just above that notch there. This middle finger is hold on, I actually did the nails wrong here. So your nails usually have a flat top, curved bottom, except for your pointer finger and your thumb, because your pointer finger Did we end the stream? Your pointer finger has more of a round nail usually. And then your thumbnail has a round top, flat bottom. Aw, no, your body. So here's the thing. Your body is odd in the way that everyone else's is odd. Because once you really start looking at the human body, you're like, what is all this? Because you want to know the worst part? Feet are so similarly structured to hands. We're going to get into that in just a moment. So those are our hands. I'm going to make some room for feet. I'm going to be very quick with feet. because I'm not very good at drawing feet. I'm actually quite bad at it. Here, let's move everything over. Let's move it all. Move it all. Move it up. What is locked? Something is locked. Oh no. What is locked? Who did this? Who let this happen? There we go. Let's move it all over. There we go. Yeah, honestly, you don't ever start like really looking at your own body as an artist until somebody tells you to. As soon as you start using yourself as reference, you're like, oh my god, people are weird looking. Like, oh my gosh, hands are so strange. Look at this. Look at how weird all that is. Your feet are even weirder. I'm gonna be very quick on feet. So we've got ourselves, earlier we drew that little triangle, right? Or little rhombus or whatever. We're gonna be working off this base shape for our rhombus. Whoops. There we are. Yeah, the different nail sizes. It messes me up every time. I also have very short nails. I like to keep my nails very short. So like, you notice the differences when they're a lot shorter. Oh, my tongue hurts because I burnt it earlier today on hot chocolate. Alright, so usually what I'll do for a foot is here is where the ankle meets the foot. I will draw a little circle, because that's the ball of your foot. It won't be right at the top. And you kind of just... you want it to go a little past your ankle. There we are. Now we have ourselves our heel. I'll draw then a smaller circle, kind of a skewed one, in this shape still. So they're still fitting in here. And then I will draw a curve upwards, matching those guys together. Then I will draw another curve inward. I'm curving it down a lot because the human body has lots of weird little curves. Right there. Now about here is actually where you have... I should have done this at a different angle. Here, we're gonna do some retroactive fixing so then it looks like this was the right angle that we intended. Pardon moi. So we're gonna just quickly... This little thing here is your ankle bone. I draw a little circle up there. I'm gonna fix this circle here so it actually starts up here. You saw nothing? You saw nothing! Oh yeah, I'm definitely voting this one. Are you kidding me? You kidding me? 100%. 100%. Totally voting. There we are. There we go. So we're gonna draw our heel again. And we're gonna draw our other guy here. Well, we want that to be a little bigger. Because the heel isn't necessarily the top there. It's just the base of the foot. That's where you're gonna be putting all your weight. And we draw our little guy here. No, hold on. When you're drawing from an angle like this, I'm stupid. So you have your triangle, but you also want to draw a little bit of... I like to draw a little bit of a square where the toes are going to be. So now I can kind of bring it all together here. That circle should have been bigger. But it's mostly, as you can see, I'm doing like circle stuff. There's stuff in a circle. There we are. I'll erase some things so then we can kind of see it now a little clearer. There we are. So when you really move away everything, your foot's gonna kind of look like this. There's a reason I don't like drawing feet. They're really hard to draw. Hi, Ryuk! Oh, nice. I just realized it was you. Sorry I didn't say hello earlier. Go sleep. Go sleep. Hi, Jack Frost. The stream's going pretty good. We're drawing feet now. So we've aligned now our foot with this little cube. We're just gonna keep melding with it. We're just gonna keep messing with it. So if anyone else looking at their own feet wondering why mine is nowhere close to your feet. Yeah, no, my feet, again, I'm really bad at drawing feet. That's why I'm not gonna spend much time on this. I draw a circle here for the big toe, a little circle here for the other toes, and Then a really tiny circle here for a little pinky toe. This is my base. This is my very, very big base. And then from here, I'll just kind of adjust. I connect the pinky toe more with the top here. Because your toes are weird. Look how weird toes are. Like that. You got your nails like that. Ta-da! I drew a foot. It's not very good. But, yeah. Everyone else has different length toes. Some people have really long toes. Some people have very short toes. So, I don't know. Go look up some toe pictures. I'm sure there's plenty out there. Alright. Maybe we should now move into some territory I'm a little more familiar with. So that was segmentation and anatomy. Those are, I think, are the bases to know for posing. So then, because understanding anatomy and how things kind of work help you with how to pose. Speaking of which, posing is something I do quite well, I like to think. Well, actually I don't. I'll do my best. Posing has a lot more to do with momentum and where your feet, where your weight is. So if I want to do, let's say we're doing a pose of someone getting flung across the room, I'll draw my head first. And then I like to draw, I like to think, well, where is the shoulder, where are the shoulders going to be? What's the angle of this body? I will draw little shapes here to show where I'm going to be putting the shoulders. I want this back to be really arched. I want it to come up over. So I'll draw a little thing here to show that this is the back. Because my shape I'm working with is this. I want my momentum going this way, and my shape is going to be kind of like this. This line I've drawn here, this is called the line of action. This line of action, if you are drawing a pose, you need to have a strong line that shows where the posing, like what posing, how do I explain this? That line of action basically is showing you the flow of this pose. If you want to see the line of action done really well, I would really recommend reading Baki, like that one with all the muscles. That is actually not only is that great anatomy practice in terms of muscle placement, even though the bodies do not look like they should belong to people, it's got excellent line of action. So there we are. So we have our line of action. It's going to be this. I'm going to make it a nice big red curve. And we have our flow of direction, I'm calling it. This is where the momentum is. And this is our pull point. If we want a person to ragdoll a little bit, pick a part of the body where all the force is being put. Baki is really good. I've been terrified to watch it. But I have read parts of the manga, and oh my gosh, the art is so good. And the creator absolutely understands how muscles work, and that's why the bodies actually look weirdly like grounded. Straight. It's weird to say. Anyway, so the point here, I'm putting all the weight about here. This is my axis point. So the rest of the body is going to bend around it like so, like this. Little stick man. Hi, the rag. Hello, hello. I'm just showing a little. We've covered the fundamentals of anatomy. I'm now doing line of action and posing. So now that I've got my line of action, I know where my force is coming from. Feet. Right, sorry, I have to censor that. I'm sorry, I didn't realize. I forgot this was supposed to be a say-so. This is a say-so stream. I'm sorry you all had to see that. You want to know something great about that, Brian? That is literally the fun. That's all drawing is. You are drawing stickman and then drawing more stuff on top of your stickman. You're already on the right track. That's amazing, right? All Alright, now that we've gotten our line of action, I'm gonna be drawing this person getting pwah! Little pwah! Ah! He got hit. He's getting hit upwards. So we've got the head up, because the head is looking downward like this. This is where he's looking. Now, his shoulders are gonna be up some. So as you can see, as we went over earlier, when the arm is moving up, so do the muscles move with it. So this guy, his arms are gonna pull up more like this. Because honestly, this is more of what the axis point is. Only my art teacher told me I wouldn't have given up. Aww. Your art teacher should have believed in you more. But you see, that pulls up like so. See, it's nice to have an easy reference point like this. Ta-da! So we want to keep that stretch in mind there. There we are. We'll get back into the piece. That stretch is going to put the points of our shoulders a little higher up than they normally would. What program are you using? I have it listed right up here at the top of my screen. I use Clip Studio Paint. I use the EX version because I wanted to upgrade, and I upgraded and I upgraded. I do recommend giving the debut version a try. I believe it's free and it's a nice trial that gives you a feel for the program before you commit. I really do recommend it. I've had this program for years. It's a really versatile program with a lot of tools. Hey, no worries. You were looking down here. We don't always have time for what's up there. So I'm gonna draw up his arms going outward like this. Like ah, oh no, ow. His back's gonna arch along here. We've got our triangle that we drew earlier. And right here is our waist point. That's where he's getting pulled from. Or in this case, pushed from. There we are. And that's because it's less, bodies are less like this, like a cat, and more like those wooden snakes. It's more like this. Because your spine isn't your bones bending, it's parts of your bones that are following a string, basically. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. So now we've gotten ourselves our dude right here. He's kind of linked around like this. That's his torso. That's his waist. Oops. What? Torso. That's about what we got going on here. And we're gonna keep following the line of action for his legs. His legs, because they're being pulled, I'm gonna exaggerate them just a little bit. I like to bend, whenever I have a leg being straightened out, I like to exaggerate and give it a little bit more of a curve upward. And then I do the circles for the feet. I find doing something like a little curve here for the legs here works. His feet are sprayed, aren't like, I'm not doing his feet like limp, because he's being caught unawares. I don't know why I drew that there. So he's kind of almost reaching out. He's surprised. I'm gonna draw his palm. His palm's at an angle, so it's gonna be a lot shorter there. His hands there, and his little knuckles are like that. I'm gonna have them a little outstretched because he's like, wah! So you just draw, I draw the lines like so. I actually really like drawing hands very exaggerated where they bend back. One little fact about me. I would draw my hands like this all the time, and I got some tips like, oh man, some people say, hey, that's a cool way to exaggerate them. That's really neat. And I remember one time I was just kind of like flexing my hands, and somebody was like, hey, Amity, what's wrong with your fingers? I was like, what? I didn't know that people's hands, like fingers, don't actually go back that far. Like usually if you have your fingers, like they don't bend back. Mine do. Mine do. And then anyway, I like to draw where the top is gonna be. I put some knuckles down. Knock, knock, it's knuckles. And then you kind of just draw your lines from there. Short lines will help with a technique called foreshortening. So it kind of makes it look like it's close, like it's if you're looking at it head on, like so. Well, here, this hand actually is supposed to be a little closer. So now we have ourselves our base here. This is where our knee's gonna be. Now we followed our little line of action. And we want to think about where the momentum is, of course, as I've said. And when it comes to things like clothing and hair, they're falling behind. They're not coming with us in the same speed. So hair might actually come forward like this. Because it's still going, it's being left behind. It's trying to catch up. And then I'll draw the shoulder kind of like so. This is the top of our body here. I draw a line down the back. I didn't really go into backs as much. I was more focusing on the front. But there is a bit of a line. I draw our little shoulder blades too, just to remind me that's the back. And now, I'm gonna draw this. I'm gonna draw our points here. This is a technique that some artists use and they find it very helpful, where they will, to get that 3D look, they will spiral in the angle of the circle, if that makes any sense. So because this one's a little more forward facing, our circle is gonna be less like this and more like this. It kind of helps get them in the 3D mind space. I don't use it very often, but when I do, I find it very helpful. Here we are. He's kind of... Sometimes your line work's gonna look a little silly. Here we are. Here we are. When it comes to my arms, especially when they are straightened out, I'll leave one side completely straight here, and then I'll do the arm bumps on the other side. But sometimes, it does depend on your own stylization. I'll also just draw action lines as I go to help me remember where the momentum is. So our hips aren't dipping down, they're dipping back up because we've folded the body over like so. Our straight curve still applies here to follow this little arch. Boop. Like so. Sometimes I find it helps me to just draw some lines across it so I remember what the angle is supposed to be. And I spend very little time on the feet. Always. I'll just draw a circle and some weird lines and pray to God. Here we are. And then sometimes if you're doing like a point of impact, just like some guys like this, like blah, blah. He's hitting the wall. That's how I pose from scratch, but we can get into that again in just a moment. In the meantime, another water break. You should draw chibi things so your characters end up looking chunky. Hey, that's okay. It's a cute, cute style. Wow. Yeah, with chibi stuff, it's also still good to have an understanding of anatomy, even with chibi stuff, and like, cause like you can make dynamic posing with chibi, and I know you can, cause you're amazing. And definitely check out some of your work if you have it publicly available. But yeah, I really like making fun dynamic poses and such. But I'm not much for realism, but I also do use other tools to help me with posing because it is really difficult. Which I think we can go into right now. How do you use a 3D model? YOKAST does not have a Discord just yet. We're still kind of getting things up and running. We're working with management on it. Because we want to make sure that we're doing it right. You know, we don't want to put up a Discord that's really scuffed and we don't know how to operate it. So yeah, probably won't be till sometime in the new year. But we do want to have one up and running soon. So a lot of artists think, or not a lot of artists, but artists who are a little too up their own butts think that 3D models are not a good thing to use. Here's my philosophy on 3D models. They are your crutch. They are not, and I repeat, they are not your legs. You should use them to help you, but you shouldn't rely on them too heavily. So I'm gonna show you a little bit about the use of these kinds of models. So Clip Studio Paint has a lot of really great models and a lot of new, I wouldn't say it's like AI, because with models you are the one posing them. You can proportion them out as need be. Clip Studio Paint has an excellent library of posable and adjustable body types, as well as all these different poses you can work from. And the online store also has lots of free ones that are super good and dynamic and can really help you. Oh yeah. Because I've seen art styles that have had to, or webcomics and such, that have basically started relying on them as a shortcut, and they don't know how to stylize them. They end up tracing them. Gonna use this one for the thumbnail? I don't know. I've already got a nice thumbnail. I think it's nice. But I think if you use this as a tool for learning, you're gonna be just fine. And sometimes you have an art block and you gotta get over it. Somehow, some way, somewhere. So, the thing I really like about these models, or models in Design Doll, which is another program I used to use before I used Clip Studio Paint, I believe it has a free edition. It's a really easy posing tool. I do recommend it. But these ones kind of tell you, you can see the lines here that show the angle you're working from, which is really nice. And you can adjust the perspective and everything. So I'm going to show you how I personally use them. Here we go. I'm going to just lock that. Oh, I want that to actually be just a little. There we are. All right. Did you make your own model? This one? No. No, this model is from Clip Studio Paint. But, here we are. God, I wish I could make something like this. Now, they got a lot of useful... Oh, did you mean my... Wait, hold on. You meant me. You meant, like, my corporeal form. No, I did not. That was actually, that was our creator. That was, Team YOKAST that did that. But, anyway. Here we are. You know, I wish I could do something like this. Are you kidding me? So, the big thing is, I use these to get the form, the shapes. So, what I'll do is I'll find our joints that we're working with and kind of get a feel for them. And kind of, I use it as an opportunity to study the angles and such. Like, aha, that's what I need. And I don't follow them. If you're gonna use a 3D model, don't trace them. Never trace them. Because then you're gonna lose your own art style and you'll actually lose a lot of the dynamicism. I'll actually show you a little bit. I'm gonna show you an example of that by tracing this hand right here. So if I just, if I just trace this hand and not really understand what I'm tracing, not really have much regard for it. Not only am I losing the energy of my usual art style, here we are. I'm not very good at tracing. You can see it's missing parts and details. Yes, decorating's so much fun! And honestly, 3D models can really help you get to that point where you're not only starting to get better at the part that's not as fun, but it can help you get good at it decently fast. But as you can see here, that looks kind of awkward, it's stiff, it's missing some details. It's not, I think it's fine, it works, but you can tell it was a 3D model for the most part. So what I do is I kind of just use it as a guide. So I'll section out points. I always draw my fingers with a little bit of jaggedness to them because it helps me with the segmenting. And I'll also change things, like, oh, I don't like that thumb kind of looks weird from this perspective, it doesn't really work. I'm gonna curve it in just a little bit. Like so. Alright. As you can see, get the shapes there. Boop. Adding parts that aren't normally there, but you know should be there. It's really helpful because your knees have like a little fold there. We take that off and then we use our piece. I like to add a little extra bump to the knuckle here. And there's no nails so that we can kind of put them where we see fit. Here we are. Oops. I wouldn't say it's a perfect piece, but it does look a little less like a 3D model, at least in my personal opinion. But that's the risk with using a 3D model, is you might always have that slight look to it, but knowing how to minimize it can really help. So what I'll do is I'll just make a rough sketch over top of it. I'll find all the important details that are laid out. Oh, they've shown me where the nose should be and what angle it should be at. Alright. I've got myself my ear and my chin. I know where those are placed. The top of your ears will always be lining up with the corner of your eyes. So keep that in mind there. Your eyes will be following this curve. So even if your character is looking down or up, that curve will help connect them. So like if the character is looking up like so. Then the eyes are still in the same place or the right place that they should be in. If that makes any sense. But you kind of want to keep your eye on where the lines tend to be and how to follow them. I will very rarely use the necks that they have because they don't quite work the way I need them to. As you can see, I'm mostly using them as a basic guide for where things should probably be, rather than where they actually end up being on the model. Adding the extra details. They're basically your own stick figure. You have to fill in the details though. I will be very quick with hands most of the time in my sketches. And with hands, I like to also curve down for a lot of them. I don't like when they kind of curve up. I think that gives it that weird 3D look. It looks like it's been rigged in software. There we are. There's also a little bit of a bump, I find, at the knee over the thigh there. And I hate the way the feet look, even though I'm pretty sure that's how feet are supposed to look. There we are. And the back curves in like so. I usually will use a 3D model when I need to draw a character with feet. Again, you can still sort of tell it's been done with a 3D model, but if this is your sketch, you can kind of work from there to distance it from using a 3D model. So that's a really good and useful beginner tool and an advanced tool. I still use 3D models, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it because it helps you figure out the fundamentals at your own pace and in a way that might be more suitable for you. Plus, you can get some really cool dynamic poses that are really hard to imagine otherwise. Finally, I'm gonna go over layout and how I've laid out pages. This one was requested by, I wanted to do shading and highlights today, but I don't think I'm gonna have a time to, unfortunately. But I do definitely want to at least get layout and page composition, because I think this is a good culmination of everything we've had so far. All right, quick water break. Oishii. Because shading it's a whole other thing that I'd love to give its proper time to. So, page composition. This is the best piece I could find, I think, that has everything I'd like to touch on. So, page composition was something that Illumijay wanted me to touch on. This is going to also include more talk of the line of action, because that is crucial to posing and the kinds of poses you want to go for. Oh my gosh! Which I totally forgot to touch on. When you are using a 3D model for posing, another great thing to do is use them to figure out your line of action. In this case, this piece's line of action is this. The piece is sitting down. They're not moving, so they don't need to have a line of action with a bunch of momentum. But having that nice line of action helps with a clearer composition. There we go. Speaking of which, I'll do my best to explain myself. So with page composition, this one definitely, most people follow the Fibonacci sequence, which is that one where it's like this and this is the golden ratio, and then I cut this in half, and then this in half, and this in half, and this half, this in half, this half. And it's like the perfect spiral, basically. So that's usually what people follow for that. What the big boys use to plan out stuff. I'll usually eyeball a lot of it. I don't believe this follows the Fibonacci sequence, really. I mean, it kind of does. Kind of. But basically, I like to do what I can to draw the eye to the subject. You can do that with coloring and such like that. My attempt in this piece, whether I actually succeeded or not, is up for debate, is I use the darkness and the light kind of to guide the eye. So the less important details are the parts that are in light. So these aren't the ones that we want to focus on. So I use the shadows to then make the subjects pop a little bit more. That was the intention. I used these, here I'll actually use more color guides. The musical notes were to help kind of bring that natural guide to the subject, which is Ollie. Courageous Ollie. But I also tried to use posing to do the same as well. Ollie has, her line of action is this. It is a perfect C. Usually when you have poses, having extra bits jutting out, if Ollie, for example, had, if her arms were down like this, it might mess a little bit with the composition, but it also does depend a lot on the posing. But basically what I did with a lot of her posing is, if this couldn't get there, okay, actually, now how I want to explain it. Okay. So this line of action, pointing upwards, her motion is upwards, her hair is, it's suggesting that as well with how it flows. Because basically the hair is swinging on the axis this way. So while the rest of her is back here, the hair is still following. Now, usually a piece like this might ruin the momentum, but the idea with this was to basically turn it into an arrow that points upward. All parts of Ollie are pointing in the direction that she is going in. she's got that circular motion. And this piece here, the string, the way it flows was also kind of meant to help with that circle. So Ollie has a decent line of motion going here. And Romeo's posing is a little similar. His is going along the same trajectory. Now this kind of stops that, but because he's standing still, this actually is a point of weight for him. He's not moving, he's leaning forward, so this acts as a natural point of pressure. Like so. So you can actually see what it is. So even his posing is pointing up to Ollie. I shouldn't have done, I wanted to go back and fix this. I should have done it like this. Like that. But that's my bad. I also used the lines here to draw more attention. But if we look at the piece, that's a lot of space we're technically not really using. If you actually look at what the foreground of this piece is, the piece actually kind of looks more like this. So we still have all this extra space. This is actually a pretty, I'm kind of tooting my own horn here. This is a decent composition, I'd say. Pretty eye. We have a good amount of negative space that draws the eye directly here. And we fill that negative space, ooh, scoozy. We've gone ahead and filled that negative space with this logo. I've used, now this actually does kind of risk taking away from the main piece here. So I had to use shadows and such to kind of make it clear to the audience this was a background detail. But simple, clean compositions that bring focus to your piece like this might be a good start. Oh geez, I'm so bad at explaining. I hope this makes some kind of sense. But you can use your posing to give your piece momentum and movement. I think if Romeo was more like, I think if I had Romeo instead facing the, I can't, hold on. If I had him facing the other way, he might actually mess with the momentum. Like so. Because then that would be going elsewhere, that might be drawing our eye away, or at the very least it wouldn't be quite as clean. Because then we'd have some space here that's kind of awkward, when instead we leave more consistent negative space. I think if you're gonna have negative space that you don't technically use, you want it to be kind of a little bit more consistent, because if you just have blicks and blops of it, it might not look as well. A lot of composition also just kind of comes down to what works for your piece, what emotion you're going for. With this one, I was going for crowded, not so crowded where there's too much going on, so I had to keep things a little simple in terms of the stage. It is definitely a more cluttered piece than I would have liked, but I'm still very proud of it. But if you want something that feels a little more desolate, you can use a much wider scale. Like a piece more like, where you feel like a person in a forest and then around them is the forest, like so. Forest, how forest. Here we are. If you were to shorten that and make it like that, that composition's not as tight or as wide or as expansive as I think you would want it to be. All this black works as negative space here. Or not really negative spaces, there will be things in it. Negative space is space you're technically not using. So these are the trees and whatnot. You can use lighting to draw attention to the person, because if you just have them small like this, then you miss them. But having not only some ground, but also some lighting around them to bring attention to them, like, here, like kind of like this. That's our person? So, oh, yes, thank you! The red in Ollie's hair does kind of help it a little bit too. It helps that Ollie has a very distinct design, and her silhouette is so clear, so it makes it very easy to spot her in a piece. Yeah, if you have a little bit more negative space here. A lot of my composition that I do is a lot of just kind of eyeballing it, messing around with the sketch to see what feels right. I tend to default to centerpiece, where like the subject will be in the center. Where you can see stuff and you can also see stuff around them. So let's say they are... He's dancing. There he is! He's dancing. I might adjust my my canvas a little bit. This is more of a digital tool to get a feel for where I want them to be and how I feel about where they're at. So I say play, be ready to play. Okay. Yeah, I'll be like, wow, they're outside. How great is that? Wow. That helps flesh out where they are in the environment. But if I just want to focus on, say, the top half, I'll give a little bit of space above their head, and I usually like to give a bit down here, so then you can see the lower half of their body, but then it still focuses on them as the focal point. Oh, geez, I hope my words make any sense. That's about all I've got in terms of, aside from, of course, when shading and coloring. I would love to do a full tutorial on that, since that is something I am a little better at explaining. Here, I'm gonna go back to the segmentation a little bit here. Boop. And I think we should head back to the Chadic to finish this up, because I still have the final half, guys, and that's the artistic mindset. Let's head back to the Chadic. Ba-ba! All right. So the final bits of requests I'm gonna kind of blow through, but we're gonna see what we can do with them. These were mostly requested by Ryek Storm and Draconis Yor. This is the stuff to know as a beginner, how to get into the artistic mood, how to address art blocks, and maximizing your workflow. I'll start with the workflow one, because that one's the easiest for me. The best way to maximize your art flow is play. Figure out what works for you in terms of your pieces, what you can use as shortcuts, what brushes you have on standby, what makes the effects you want. A lot of it is just familiarizing yourself with your program. So while you're playing and getting used to using it, that'll help you understand how to get to what tools. Literally take a day if you're using your program and just play. Use every tool. Figure out what every tool does. And if you haven't figured it out just yet, be ready to come back to it. And also look up stuff about your art program. There isn't an art program out there that doesn't have some kind of tutorial, and it's gonna teach you a lot. Be willing to learn and be ready to maybe frustrate yourself. Because sometimes I will figure out how to do things a very specific way, and then I'll find out that there was like a much easier tool that I could have been using this entire time. So yeah, maximizing your art, your workflow. Yeah, experimentation. Play around and get used to the program. Doodle, do a lot of fun stuff like that. Now, let's talk a little bit about the path of a beginning artist. Usually when people say I'm a beginner artist, they're usually meaning digital art, but I want to see if I can maybe appeal to some people that are just new to art in general. Obviously, look, be ready to not be as proud of yourself at the beginning. Very few artists will look at their own art and say, wow, that's amazing, and then feel the same way in like 2 days. But it's about confidence, and it's about letting yourself maybe not be at your best game. I'm very fortunate because I'm at a point now in my afterlife where I can look at my work and say, hey, I'm really proud of this. I think this is good art. And it may not always be objectively good, but it's about the fact that you made something. If you start comparing yourself You can't go in with a competitive mindset. You never go in with a competitive mindset. Because once you start comparing yourself to other artists and saying, why am I not as good at that as they are? You're gonna start ignoring what makes your art special. You're gonna start ignoring the things that you have strengths in. And you're not gonna be willing to try new things. Instead of saying, why are they better than me? Ask yourself, what can I learn from this piece? Because here's the thing, art is so subjective. I've talked to so many artists, like I've met so many artists where I've been like, oh man, your art's so much better than mine. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, why are you so good? Oh my gosh. And they're like, Amity, I think you're better than me. And after a while, I was just kind of like, maybe we're all good and we just have different styles. And I think there are still artists who are, obviously there are artists who are objectively better than me. They're the artists that went to art school, who've been working their butts off, who do this for a living. Obviously they're gonna be better than me. I do this for fun mostly. And that's okay. That's super fine. And it just makes me more excited to learn. So you have to go in with the mindset of a student, not as a competitor. Other artists are your friends. And you can always learn something from every piece, even a bad piece. Like a piece that maybe is technically objectively bad, or even one of your own pieces. If you look at a piece you make and you think, this is horrible, you're not thinking right. You need to think, okay, how can I improve this? What can I work on here? What did I do right? Always look for something that you've done right. For every criticism you give yourself a little bit of praise. So that's my biggest tip for artists. Because if you don't go in with the right mindset, it can be really, really easy to give up. And I'm in a very specific situation because my relationship with art and getting into the artistic mood is fundamentally different than most people. Because I didn't really have a period of my life or my afterlife where I wasn't an artist. I was 3 years old. I was 3 years old. I was already drawing like people with bodies. Not well, but pretty good for a 3-year-old. And I turned to my mom and I said, Mom, I'm gonna draw every day. And she was like, okay, Amity, you do that. I still have. I draw something literally every day. I'm a bit of a slow learner. But I've been doing this literally for as long as I've existed. From the second I've been able to hold a pencil. So that's why my my journey with art and drawing has been pretty different from a lot of people that I know that want to get into art. Because it is my life. It is my afterlife. It's everything that I do. I'm not as good as the creative team, obviously. But I'm not trying to be. Yes! Drawing, yes, also draw other people's things. I'm not a fan of drawing fan art, but I love copying other people's styles. I really like it, because then you kind of figure out what pieces you really like to keep, and then you migrate them over to your own style. That's how you form your own style. The only way to form your own unique style is to keep working at it. Try other styles, because you might figure out, hey, they draw heads like this, that makes sense to me. Or, oh, I like the way they draw hands. That makes more sense than what I was trying to do. I think this kind of eye looks a little closer to what melds with the rest of my style. I've done lots of different anime styles over my life. I've done Soul Eater, I've done Naruto, I've even tried I've tried the One Piece style. I'm dabbling a little bit lately with trying to copy Chainsaw Man. I've done a lot of, like, Trigger. So the only way to really make your style is to branch out into crazy places. I took an acting class one time, and the director of the class said, if you don't know what emotion you should do the most extreme emotion you can. That'll help you figure out what's at the core of your scene. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. And then I tried it, and I was like, oh. You have to hit the extremes before you can find your middle ground. As for technology and such, for beginners, if you're gonna get into digital art, I recommend I do recommend using Krita. Krita is the program I personally started with. It used to have a lot of bugs. I think it's now, I'm pretty sure it still has a free version at the very least. Last I checked, it was only $10 on Steam. It's one of the cheaper / more accessible art programs, and it's very, very versatile. Like, really versatile. There are a lot of professional artists that have stuck with it, which understandably so. Afterwards, if you do want to get into a program like Clip Studio Paint, that's the one I use. It's actually industry standard for a lot of mangaka. I actually know this because I will often read manga or webcomics and then recognize the brushes they use, and it makes me really happy. Oh, Krita. 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 It is really great for beginners, and it's really great for advanced. It's basically great for every level. Clip Studio Paint, I really recommend checking out the debut version if you're looking to upgrade into a paid program. I know a lot of people use Photoshop. I don't know how to use Photoshop. And I'm not the kind of person I think needs to. But either Photoshop or Clip Studio Paint. But of the two, I would recommend Clip Studio Paint because that's a paid one and done. I believe you can get a monthly license if you want, but I have the permanent license. As for equipment, I definitely recommend starting small. Don't jump right into a Cintiq. In fact, don't go for a Cintiq. I have a Wacom 1, which is basically like a cheaper Cintiq. It's good. It's a good thing, but it's a little small for my tastes. I'm looking to upgrade to an X Pen. They have basically for the same price as my Wacom 1. They have an industry standard massive screen you can get that has buttons and everything. But if you're starting out from scratch, I recommend going with something small like a Bamboo, like one that doesn't have a screen on it. One of those ones where it's just the tablet and you're looking at the screen while you draw. It's an adjustment, but it is the most accessible way to start, in my opinion. Or if you have a tablet or a touchscreen laptop, getting a stylus for that is really, really, really good. Basically, start out small. Don't commit to really big stuff until you know this is what you want to do. And that's after you've given them all a fair shake. Oh yeah. Don't go for expensive thing for VTuber models. Always start out small before you know you can commit. I have a friend who, he was like, oh, hey, Amity, I'm gonna get into art. And I was like, cool. He's like, what programs do you use? I was like, well, I use Clip Studio Paint, but I recommend this one, I recommend this one, because they're free, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, cool, what art tablet? I was like, oh, I got Wacom 1, but I recommend this one, I recommend this one. He comes back the next day, he's like, I got a Wacom 1 and I got Clip Studio Paint EX. And I'm like, why? Why'd you do that? Luckily, he's sticking with it, but I was like, what would have happened? You can't return those! Next up, getting into the artistic mood. Oh, no, right? That's what I said. I was like, bro, what the heck? We're ghosts. We don't make a lot of money. Where are you getting this from? And he was like, please don't ask me that question. All right, getting into the artistic mood. So this is also physical mood, I would say. That's the wrong word for it. But, also prepping for art physically. There are exercises you need to do, or else you are going to get either carpal tunnel or tendinitis. I know a lot of animators who have tendinitis. I know a lot of artists who have tendinitis. Fun fact about those, I'm one of them. You carry that stuff into the afterlife. I have very mild tendinitis. I take care of it. I do a lot of stretches for it, and it flares up every now and again, but I'm very fortunate where it doesn't stop me from drawing. So you always want to be exercising your wrists. So like rolling them back and forth. Don't do a full rotation of your wrist. Do half circles. You want to do ones that push back your hand for 10 seconds and push it forward for 10 seconds. There are lots of really great artistic exercises to do. I also really recommend doing drawing exercises after you finish doing your stretches, because you need to do stretches. You have to do stretches. You got to take care of your hands. But there are also some drawing exercises. So before you actually dive into a piece, one way to get your motivation up can just be doing circles and drawing quick lines and getting basically your arm used to it. You want to draw with your arm, not your wrist. Because if you're drawing with your wrist, you're gonna put more strain on it. But if you draw with your whole arm, then you put way less strain on your wrist and you have a little bit more control. At least once you get used to it. That's also why a bigger art tablet tends to be what a lot of artists go for. It makes it way easier. I also recommend getting an art glove. But anyway, but do some quick doodles, just something not serious to get your creative juices flowing. It's kind of like how you do a little stretches before you start a workout. Yes, arm over wrist. It is a hard habit to get into, and it's a little easier when you have a bigger canvas you're working with, but there are ways to do it with smaller canvases as well. But yes, getting into an artistic mood. I also like to play music a lot when I'm drawing. It kind of just depends on what inspires you. So some people like to read before they draw because it gets their brains working. Music is a big thing, listening to music that has the mood you're looking for. If I want to draw something serious, I'm pulling up some serious music. If I need to draw something whimsical, oh, I'm drawing some freaking beautiful Kevin Pankin stuff. I'm getting the Made in Abyss soundtrack up in my ears now. But of course, the artistic mood doesn't always come to you if you have an art block. Art blocks, every artist goes through them. And artists go through them for very, very, very different reasons. Oh yeah, keep from singing some music. Sing to it. Sing and draw, do it. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. I recommend it. You can multitask, do it. It's so much fun. But anyway, every artist gets art blocks. That's just part of the process. You're not a bad artist if you can't make yourself draw. It's simple, plain and simple. I know people who do it for a living, but some days they cannot make themselves draw anything. For me, I have a lot of different creative hobbies. And a lot of things I'm trying out, so when I have an art block, it's mostly just my own frustration. And my art blocks also manifest very differently. It's always one or the other. For me, art blocks don't keep me from drawing necessarily, but they do kind of make it hard to. Basically, with art, for those who don't really understand what an art block is, it's basically like, it's like you're frozen a little bit. You can't really put the things together in your mind. Things aren't turning out the way you were hoping. You can hardly even do it, basically. For me, I can usually push through art blocks because drawing is so second nature to me that even when my art blocks are basically just whatever I draw doesn't turn out the way I want. I just get frustrated with myself too quickly. It's not working out, it's not panning out. I can still make myself draw, I just don't like the results. But like, yeah, there's writer's block, there's animator's block, there's a whole bunch of different, every artist has a block of some kind. And the first thing I have to say about, if you have an art block, do not fight it. Do not fight that art block. You're gonna push and you're gonna push and you're gonna push and you're gonna try and force past it, and you're just gonna make yourself frustrated. If you can't bring yourself to draw, you need a change of scenery. Because art blocks are usually caused by, usually it's burnout. It's usually because you're tired. It doesn't matter if you're tired from art. If you're just tired, you might have an art block. If you've been drawing too much, even though you love doing it, even though you've been really enjoying what you've been making, you're gonna have burnout. Ever just throw away the art sketches, drawings you don't like? Oftentimes, I will not save them. Because sometimes I just go into just doodle something and I think, oh, I'm not really proud of this, oh, whatever. But there are a lot of sketches that I've gotten rid of because I haven't really liked them, or in others I've come back to. I kind of have a flow state. I struggle to come back to old pieces because I want to reconstruct them from scratch, because I end up I'm more inspired to do something like this or something. So personally, I tend to throw them out. I recommend keeping what you don't want, though. I do really recommend it. Unless you don't have the space for it. If you don't have the space, then that's okay. But my digital art I tend to erase, just because I don't think about saving them, so then I turn off my computer and then they're gone. Oops. But as for my sketches I've made on paper, I actually keep all of those. I keep absolutely all of my sketchbooks. I have hundreds of sketchbooks just in my house, in my parents' house, in their storage closets. They have all of my old sketches. So if you can keep them, I do recommend keeping them. Because not only will you be able to look back and see how much you've improved, you might get inspired to draw again a little bit from that. Mostly upsetting when it doesn't come out the way it was supposed to. But also, what's the way it's supposed to, you know? That's why you can't try and fight your art blocks. You kind of have to let yourself ride them out. That's what I do anyway. I will often go to a different thing. I'll do something else for a bit. Oh, I don't feel like drawing today. I can't make myself draw. Okay, let's go make ourselves something to eat. Oh man, I'm feeling really stressed and that might be why I can't draw. I should go take a bath. Or I'm gonna go watch some TV and not think about anything. You have to let yourself relax. You have to let yourself... It's kind of like... You know when you're looking for something in your room and you look and you look and you look and you look and it's been hours and you can't find it and you think, fine, I give up. You come back a few hours later after you've forgotten you were looking for it and it's right there, right in front of your face? That's oftentimes what it can be like to come back to a piece after you've had an art block. That's at least in my experience. The gnomes took it. The gnomes took it. They did. But yeah. I often... It is a lot of getting into the proper mindset and recognizing, oh, I'm having an art block. And a lot of that can even come down to confidence. I've met so many people and I've had so many art blocks in the past where I've let that make me believe that I'm a bad artist. No, that's not it. No, it's not. The gnomes taketh away. But gnome also give back. Exactly. You just have to be patient. And that can be really hard, especially when you have an idea you so desperately want to draw. So in those cases, either draw the bare minimum, that'll make you remember that, or write it down. Oh, my elbow, ow. You gotta write it down. Keep your ideas close to your heart. And also, instant forgiveness. You're learning and you're always going to be learning. And that's the beautiful part about art. You're never gonna reach a point, I think, where there's not something you can't learn. I think, did I do a double negative there? I think I did. Basically, you're always gonna be able to learn something from someone. And it's so much fun to learn. Take it as an exciting challenge. Give yourself the time you need to. I burn myself out quite frequently. I found myself burnt out really soon after doing a lot of streams on top of some art projects on the side, on top of my job, on top of making time for friends and family. And sometimes you gotta know when you're spreading yourself too thin and when you gotta give yourself a break. Because then, if you take care of yourself, you'll be doing even better the next time. And you can keep making wonderful things. But that's my main bit of advice for fighting an art block. Don't do it. You're always gonna be learning, and that's so cool. But yeah, guess we've gone out on another bit of a sappy note. I think that is my time, guys. Thank you so much for popping in. I know I'm not like the best teacher, but you were amazing, Polterguests. My Polterguests. You're my students. I'm your Polter Sensei. Yay! Sappy makes us happy. Sappy makes us happy. I love it. Oh, I love it. Alrighty then. I have been your ghostest with the mostest, signing out. Thank you for coming to class. Class dismissed.